Welcome to the Kirsty Knits and Sews podcast. This is the second episode here on YouTube, and I'm so excited to show you what I have been knitting over the past 10 days. My name is Kirsty. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Kirsty Knits and Sews. I'll put the name here on the bottom. And basically, I love knitting. I also love sewing, but at the moment I have young children. Knitting is much more easy to do. I have recently relocated to another country. I moved from Australia to Poland and I don't have a local knit group yet. So this is a fun way for me to share what I've been doing with some people that I've knit with before, but also hopefully can make some new friends online and in Poland as well. I will just jump in here. I have a lot that I want to go through, including some some things that I finished before I started the podcast, but I still have because I have not yet gifted them. So I want to go through some of them as well because they are some bigger knits that I worked on for a while, and I really love them. The first one that I will mention though is what I'm wearing right now. This is the I call it the pine jumper. It's the mindfulness pullover. The pattern is by Twin Stitches Designs. I will link any patterns or yarns or things that I mention that I can. I will link down below in the description box. And I will also have Ravelry pages for everything that I talk about here today. So I have done that since last time. So you can go over to Ravelry and find out what I've knit. The older ones won't necessarily have as much detail, but as I make new projects, I will make sure that I include all the details and any changes to patterns that I include. So yes, this one is the Mindfulness Pullover by Twin Stitches Design. It is knit entirely with yarn from Vera Yarns Designs. Now Vera Yarns Designs is an Ireland-based indie dyer. I love her colours. They're bright, they're fun, and I managed to get some of her yarn. So when I bought her yarn, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. I knew I wanted to do this pullover, but I wanted this colour to do a sweater or a pullover or something, and she only had 2 skeins of it. Now instead of asking her to dye a 3rd skein for me, which she does, you can order colours, or at least you could when I bought this earlier this year, late last year. Instead of doing that, I just bought what she had and thought maybe I'll do a t-shirt or something different. The pattern is actually a 3/4 sleeve for this one and I wanted it longer. But I also bought a different yarn, which I do actually have here, but I'm not going to show it. A different yarn of hers that I was intending to do this particular one with. But when the yarns arrived, I fell in love with this colour. And the other colour is beautiful and I will still make a garment out of it, but I really wanted to use this colour for this pattern. And so I toyed with some different ideas. Part of it was so I ended up using 4 yarns for it, sorry. So this is pine. I used pine and cool bark, which has a little bit of a brown in here, but also has some of the pine colours. This one here is straight jellyfish number 5. And then the dark pink up here is ruby, which you will see in another project soon. So I had all of these colours from her and I knew they worked together, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a fade, like I ended up doing, or incorporate the pine and cool bark from the top so that the whole jumper was a lighter colour but it was the same the whole way. Just pop up here so you can see how it goes at the bottom as well. So that's the fade that I ended up with. I love the colours. When I was doing Instagram chats and Facebook chats with people saying, what do you think I should do? Because I love this colour, and it's already got bits of the softer, cooler tones, but I didn't want the whole thing to be lighter. So I ended up doing the ruby here, the jellyfish 5 here, the ruby here, and then when I got the body first. So I got to the point that I was going to stripe in the cool part, and I did that for I think 10 rows or 7 rows each maybe of striping, and then I swapped to striping the pine and coolbark and jellyfish and ended with that and just a pop of ruby down the bottom, which I love. And then for the sleeve I did the pine and coolbark mix, and then with the pine, same as I did on the body, and then I did a much larger chunk of pine and coolbark with jellyfish and finished on just jellyfish. Now I love how that worked. The reason I did that was I estimated with the body how much I was using per round and how much I would need per round on the sleeve. And so, and I didn't want it to line up exactly. You can see that it doesn't, because I knew that the sleeve would have a longer gradient. But anyway, I can't exactly remember how I did it, but I remember weighing a lot and trying to figure out exactly how much I could have. And when I finally did get to the sleeves, I knit one sleeve. I weighed before I started, knew how much I had to use for each sleeve, knit one sleeve until I was getting close to half of it, started weighing each round to see how many grams I was using, or how many rounds I could do with 1 gram. And then I started striping. And so by the time I finished, I knew that I would have enough to do a matching sleeve. And I did. And I had a tiny bit left over, so I could have maybe done 1 or 2 more rounds per sleeve. But by that point, I was happy, it was done. Now, I have heaps of pine and coolbark, so I could have just transitioned to the medium colour and done the whole rest of it in a darker colour. And I considered that, but when I bought the yarn, I bought 2 different types. The majority of it, the pine and the jellyfish, are in Vera Yarns Designs Merino Singles, which is quite a light feeling, warm, but light feeling one. The ruby and the pine coolbark that's here were in her high twist merino, which is a sock one. And it was giving me a much denser feel. And so I didn't want to go into completely the denser feel for the rest of the arm or for the rest of the body, because I didn't know how that would affect the drape. So I didn't. And I kept striping until I was happy to swap completely to the jellyfish. It worked. I love it. I love the effect of it. I love the look of it. I haven't worn it as much as I thought I would. And I think there are 3 reasons for that. One is it's warm. And in Poland in winter, you're either inside in heating or you're outside in the freezing cold and have a jacket on, which is warm enough that you feel like you're inside with heating. So I haven't been wearing jumpers underneath my jacket. And I haven't been wearing jumpers inside. I just haven't been wearing jumpers. And I was starting to get really worried because I love wearing jumpers and I love knitting jumpers. Well, we're now into spring, well and truly it's warming up, which means the heating isn't on as much inside, so I can wear jumpers more inside and also outside, because I'm not wearing my big heavy jacket, but it's not warm enough to wear t-shirts throughout the day yet. So, jumpers, whew, it's okay, I can wear them. So maybe I'll start wearing it more, but I think there are 2 things. One is the sleeve. It's not too tight. I didn't gauge swatch. I did swatch for colour when I was thinking of striping the coolbark through the whole thing, but I didn't gauge swatch. I didn't want to block any because I knew that I was going to be cutting it short with yarn anyway, and I didn't want to waste potentially 10 rows or whatever of sleeve on a swatch. So I don't know if this is a pattern thing or a yarn that I used or what, but I have found that the sleeves are a little tight. I did block them out, and that means that they're slightly, they're not short, they're quite comfortable. I don't feel ever like I'm trying to tuck them down or anything, but they do feel tight around here, which means that wearing tops with sleeves underneath it isn't super comfortable. but for a tank top or something to wear in summer, it's fine. But the other thing is it has quite a bit of positive ease. And I didn't gauge swatch, I don't know if that's part of the pattern, but what I did notice is that the body ended up wider than I expected and the sleeves ended up slimmer than I expected. So if it is a pattern or a yarn thing, I would have expected it to, if it was a yarn thing, I would have expected it to be the same, that they were both bigger or both slimmer. So I suspect it's probably just a fit, a preference. So I think if I did it next time, I would go up a size in the sleeve and probably keep the body the same. But I am considering doing knit surgery on this one because if I stand up properly, you can see that sits just on my hips. And that's okay, but I just want it a little bit longer, just maybe down to here. And so I still have plenty of both the jellyfish and the cool pine. I don't have much left of the ruby and it is blocked, so if I take that out I may have to either try using it again or may give up my hope for a ruby pop at the bottom. But either way, I could add an inch onto that. I have enough yarn for it. And if I did it again, I would probably knit a slightly longer ribbed hem, because I like the look of this, except that it keeps wanting to roll up, and I feel like it was just a bit longer, it would sit down a little bit more because of the weight. So those are the two things. I haven't cut into it yet, obviously. I'm thinking I'll wear it a few times and decide if it is if I'm happy with it as it is, or if it's going to bug me enough that it's worth cutting into it again. I don't mind doing sweater surgery. I know that if I will wear it more afterwards, it's totally worth it. But if I'm happy with it as it is and I will wear it as it is, it's not usually worth it. But I do know from experience that if I am on the edge about something, I'm less likely to reach for it. And for such a beautiful sweater, the lovely yarn that's gone into it, I want to reach for this one. So, I don't know, what do you think I should do? Comment down below. Let me know, is it worth adding an inch or even 2 inches so that I wear it more often, or do I just leave it as it is? I don't know. Alright, my tea today is in this beautiful hedgehog mug. This one is from, I think it's You and Home. Maybe it's Home and You. It's a company, a store that we have here in Poland, and it's a beautiful little hedgehog mug. And I'm drinking tea. Always tea. This one, I think it's the same one I drank last time actually. It's black tea with fruit. Czarne z herbata. I cannot say black czarne in Polish because I haven't learned how to roll my R's yet. And most words I can fudge it through and people understand, but czarne is a very common word and people don't understand me when I say it. So I'm gonna have to work on that. Okay. So I should say, this sweater that I'm wearing, I started and finished in a month. I was so excited about it. I just knit. It is made with 4-ply. I made the size 4, and yeah, when I started knitting I just couldn't stop. The colour work went very quickly, and then the rest was docking, so it was easy. I did have to think a bit with the fade, because that's not in the pattern. If you get the pattern, it's just one straight colour. So I had to think a bit and do some maths. But I love colour. So as soon as I'm working with colour and I'm seeing striping and changing, I will knit. And I will knit. Any self-striping socks or anything like that, they fly. Because I want to see the colour change. It's that simple. Alright. So this was, finished this on the 4th of January. The next one I finished on the 15th of January, but I wanted to share it because, okay, I will show you and then I will talk. Look at those colours. Isn't it beautiful? Now this pattern is called Softly Does It, and I didn't use the yarn that it said for in the pattern, but that's okay because I found this yarn, and this is 2 different colourways, which I should tell you. Hang on, 2 seconds. I didn't show you this last time. This is a little notebook that I have that I keep track of projects that I've made, just putting the yarn card and a bit of the yarn so that I can look back and see what I have done. It's a bit of fun, but it also means if something doesn't have information in here, maybe it's in here. And often yarn tags, there will be things on yarn tags that I forget. Sorry, I didn't check this earlier. The yarn for this one colourway, don't you love it when it's numbers, 3190, and the other one was 0844. They were the colours. They did have names when I bought them, but not on the yarn tag, just on the bag that the balls of yarn were in. So anyway, one was much more of the bluey, purpley colours, and the other one was much more the pinky, orangey colours, but they both had the blues and the purples. So yeah, it was the green was more one yarn and the pink and the orange was more the other. But anyway, the pattern itself says to do 3 pattern repeats with 1 yarn, so that's 12 rows, and then 3 pattern repeats with the other yarn. And so you're getting the striping of the yarn, but also the block changes. So you can see like those 3 rows and those 3, and then pattern repeat, pattern repeat. So it's striped and has colour change within that, but you get an overall bigger striping effect. You can see it really well here on the sleeve. The pattern repeats, blocks of 3. So pretty. So this pattern, it's called Softly Does It. I got it out of a magazine, and I'm sorry I don't know the name of the magazine. It is a slip stitch pattern, so you can see the slip stitches coming up, and that's another thing that just gives such a beautiful texture for a striping yarn. I saw it in the magazine and I loved it, and I sat on the pattern for a while because I knew that I wanted the perfect yarn to do it. And when I found this yarn in my local yarn store, I went in, I bought it. It's a 80% acrylic, 20% wool, which meant that it was a very affordable price. I think all the yarn in this jumper, which you can see it's a massive jumper, was about $50. Like, it was so affordable. But, and here's the problem, the pattern is written for 40 centimetres or 16 inches positive ease. That's huge. Huge. And I saw it on the model in the magazine, and I went, that looks really nice. It doesn't look like she's got that much positive ease. And so when I cast it on, I was pregnant, and so I don't think I used my actual measurements at that time. I used my pre-pregnancy or something in between. But I cast it on 2 sizes smaller than the pattern said I should need, because I just went 16 inches positive ease is too much. So then I did that, and I looked at the thing. This one is pieced, so front and then back, and then sleeves, and then seamed together. I looked at the back as I was knitting it, and I just went, this is massive. But that's what they say, and again, the model looks great in it, and I've already gone down 2 sizes, and I was hitting gauge, and it's like, I'm going to trust the pattern. Oh boy. So I kept going, and every time, and you know, it stretches because you're knitting in a much larger needle than the yarn calls for. I followed the pattern for it all, but I don't remember it. And so it had a lot more give and stretch, and I thought maybe like if you lay it out it's fine, but if you hold it up it looks really big. So I just thought I'd trust the pattern, trust the process. Well, I finished it, I seamed it together, and wow, I put it on and it just looked big. It didn't look nice. Like, it was comfy, but it wasn't, I could wear this out of the house oversized. It was, I can wear this in my house and look a little bit sloppy oversized. And I thought about it and I tried it a few times and I just went, you know what? There is someone in my life who will love this sweater, will love this colours, and it should fit them. So I'm gonna gift it. And that's it. So this one is now a gift. Like I said, I love it. It is beautiful. I love the colours. I would probably make myself another one. I did do things like the back is meant to be 5 or 10 centimetres longer down here. And so I didn't make it, I think it's like maybe 1 or 2 rows longer, but I didn't make it deliberately longer because, you know, having it back down here, it just looked funny. And I did redo the cuffs because the cuffs were meant to be in a larger needle and it was just so puffy and weird. So I did sweater surgery and I cut it down and I redid the cuffs with the smaller size and I much prefer it. So even with all of that, like I said, I love it. I have enough yarn left over that I would wear a little sweater for my daughter. She's not even 1, so there's plenty of yarn for that. There's not enough yarn to make myself another one. So I've got to decide whether I want to do one for me in the same yarn, order some more and have a matching sweater for whoever I'm gifting this to, or if I'll do different yarn, or if I'll just throw my hands up in the air and say I've knit it once and I'm happy. But like I said, it was a fun pattern to knit and I'm glad that I knit it, and even though I'm not keeping it, I'm passing it on, I'm gifting it, I'm very happy with the way that the pattern and the colours have worked out. And even if I don't get to wear it, I'm glad I knit it. The next previous finish, I actually had finished these just before the last podcast and I didn't show them because I hadn't decided what I was going to do about gift knits yet. Because when I'm knitting gifts, generally it's for someone that I know quite well, and those people could easily watch this podcast. Whether they care about knitting or not, if they want to hear my voice or feel like they're having a chat with me. Funny story. My sister watched this podcast last time and afterwards she said, Kirsty, it was so confusing. I was sitting there watching the podcast and I know how YouTube works, but 3 times you sent me a message while I was watching the podcast and I actually stopped confused and went, but she didn't even pick up her phone. She's like, I knew that you were recording and that you were not doing it live from somewhere, but it confused her that I was messaging her in real life while she was watching me on YouTube. Yep. Anyway, but it means that people that I know could watch this. My sister is definitely interested in knitting, but other people who aren't may watch it just because they want to see me or hear what's going on or something. So for gift knits, I'm not always going to mention who they're for, but I will talk about what they are. And this next one, I'm not going to mention who it's for, but it's quite possible that they'll know anyway. So here is the gamble. I have a finished pair of socks. Yay! Okay, so these socks, they're just a vanilla heel flap and gusset, slip stitch heel flap and gusset, vanilla sock pattern. I use vanilla socks on Magic Loop by the Crazy Sock Lady. Very simple pattern to follow. She has a free DK weight one out. The 4-ply, I think it was like $2 or something for her vanilla sock recipe. And I got on Magic Loop because that's what I do, but when I've done it on different types, I just swap it over. And it's very easy to figure out if you're going from Magic Loop to 9-inch circular or whatever, what you're meant to do. So that's fine. But anyway, so these ones, they're called Ghost Gum socks. You know what? I'm just going to say who they're for. These are for my dad. As soon as I said Ghost Gum socks, he would have known they were for him. So I'll figure out what to do later on. my dad is an artist and he paints trees. So I've already knit him 2 other pairs of socks. One was ironbark socks and one were, I called them Angofra socks because that's what it reminded me of. And these ones are ghost gum. Check out the beautiful colours in there. It's spot on. So these yarns are dyed by Black Wattle Yarn. I will absolutely link them below. These are their Mealy MELLE sock base. The ironbark ones I did were on their, I think, Grevillea sock base. So this is a 75 superwash merino, 25% nylon. I love the yarn. It is so nice to work with. I love the finished fabric of the yarn. I did do 2.5mm addies instead of 2.25, which is what the Crazy Sock Lady's sock pattern calls for. I think my gauge with addies is always a bit tighter than my gauge with Chagu. And so I haven't ever gauge swatched to see what I should be doing for her sock pattern. I just started with 2.5s because that's what I had and I've kept going for the most part. But yeah, for the most part, 2.5, I'm very happy with the fabric I get. Every now and then when I do a 2.5 on Chagu, I'm not happy with the fabric and I will go down to a 2.25. I've got an example of that here and I'll talk about that in a bit. But these are 2.5 Addy Magic Loop. And the yarn, guys, like, I'm just going to show you that again. Look at the beautiful subtle variation. That is so much, it's a ghost gum. I should specify, ghost gum is a type of eucalyptus tree that is found in Australia. My dad's paints trees. He's Australian, so he paints Australian trees. And these are spot on. And Black Wattle Farm Yarn, Black Wattle Yarn have a lot of different types of tree. So the ironbark socks, ghost gum socks were both Black Wattle Yarn colourways that they have in stock. You can order them to dye. I think they had to dye these ones custom, but they have them on their website. What I call Angofra socks was a sock set of theirs, and it didn't say Angofra on it, but it was a I don't even think I have a photo to insert. It was a paler one similar to this, but it had a bit more of pinks and almost a bit of green as well, and then it came with like a burnt orange mini that I then did for the toe, the heel, and a pop of colour at the cuff. And it was perfect because Angofra trees change colour depending on the weather and the cycle, and sometimes they're pink and sometimes they're white and sometimes they are bright orange. Seriously, look up Angofras. They are amazing trees. So I was really psyched, even though it didn't say Angofra. I saw the colours and went, that is perfect for this tree that Dad has also painted in the past. And these are his ghost gum socks. So this is the third in the trilogy, and before these have even arrived, he's felted one of the other socks. It ended up in a towel wash that was extra hot, and now may not even fit my baby girl. So he's now got 1.5 pairs with him. This will take him back up to 2.5 pairs, and I don't have enough of the yarn to knit him another sock. There's one of the ironbark ones that got felted. I could order more yarn. He's very knit worthy. He's usually very careful with his socks. This was a fluke, a very sad fluke, but I will keep knitting him socks because he is very knit worthy. Okay, so they are my pre-podcast start knits. Thank you for coming and listening to me talk about them, because knitting is such an accomplishment when you finish something, particularly when you finish a sweater or a big knit, and it's really sad when there's no one to share it with. So thank you for being someone for me to share this with. I mean, my husband is supportive as much as he can be, but he doesn't care about knitting. He cares about me, but not about knitting. and I don't have any close-knit friends here yet. So thank you for being part of this. All right, before I get on to whips, there is something that I want to talk about very quickly. Actually, before I get on to whips, I should do my other finished objects, the ones that I finished since my last podcast, because I have finished 2 things since the last podcast. Isn't that exciting? So I'm just going to put these ones on the sock blockers. These ones are my intersection socks. Now, when I showed them last week, they were so close to being done. Like, so close that I probably should have just not recorded for another 20 minutes and finished them off. But I didn't, because of children and sun and everything else that goes on to this kind of thing. These are my intersection socks. That's a bit better. So this yarn is Vera Yarn Designs again. This is actually the same pink that I have here in my jumper. I had leftovers, would you believe? So these are my intersection socks. I finished them April 20. I'm pretty sure it was after I finished the last podcast, the same day, sat down and did these. These are the 100% Merino Superwash High Twist Sock. I love the feel of them. They are 100% Superwash Merino, but they are also designed for socks. So I will wear them and see how they wear. But I love the feel of them. They're quite a thick feel, but very soft. And then the pattern, it's going to get blown out again. There we go. If I leave my hand there, that's more what it looks like, that colour. The pattern is intersection, so it's a cable pattern. I did it without using a cable needle, so go figure. I followed a tutorial from the knitter, which I will link down below in terms of doing cables without a cable needle. Cable needleless cables. There's an easy way to say that. Anyway, I did these on the 2.5 Addies again, which is what the pattern called for, and I did the smaller sides of the pattern. And these fit beautifully. They were toe-up socks. I usually knit mine cuffed down now, so that was a nice change. And so you just increase for the gusset, and then you do the heel turn. So there's no particular type of heel flap, you just do the heel turn, and by the time that's finished, you keep knitting. It was actually quite an enjoyable heel to do. I'm not sure if I'll do it myself again or not, but definitely I will make these socks again, and I'll do it when I do these socks. I love them. I haven't worn them yet. I put them aside so that I could show you guys before I wear them, but love them. Oh, see there, right there. That's what the cover looks like. Love these socks. Oh, and in terms of something I bought new, sock blockers. Woo! I already have some in like a large size for men's, but I didn't have any in a size for me. And I don't normally block my socks, so it's not something that I've been pining for a long time from that respect. But I do like to be able to photograph and show off socks. So that is nice to have sock blockers. Alright, the other thing that I finished since last time, hang on. So good. The other thing that I finished since last time is a teapot cozy. Now this one, I think I mentioned this last time. All the bags that I have made. This bag has been storing this work in progress since the beginning of 2020. This was a pre-pandemic cast on. It is now middle of 2022. I'm right with that, yeah? It's 2022. Gosh, my brain isn't working. So I did not work on this for 18 months. Or 2.5 years. 2.5 years. Almost. I didn't work on this. Definitely 2 years. When I got the bag out again, oh my goodness, I love it. So this is a duck drill thing from Spotlight, just cord from Spotlight and a hanky linen on the bottom. But the pattern, I'm pretty sure, is from Zeriano. I will link the pattern down below because it is a paid for pattern, but it is, yeah, a rounded bottom drawstring bag, and I mean, they're perfect size for socks. I have a feeling the pattern is 2 sizes, and I have a feeling I upsized it. So I think this might actually be slightly bigger than either of the 2 that she has a pattern for. So you buy one pattern that has 2 sizes, and I think I looked at it and said I want it a bit bigger, and so I drew a new circle, but I followed instructions, construction, everything from the pattern. If you're a sewer, you'll probably be able to do the same if you want a slightly bigger one. Anyway, but I've been loving zipper bags. This has just made me go back to drawstring. We'll see how that plays out over the coming weeks. So, the story behind this finished object, I knit a teapot cozy for myself. I'd seen it on Pinterest or something using buttons that I could get at the time from Spotlight Australia. So I don't know if they still have them. I haven't checked to see. Change that. They won't have them at the moment. It's the middle of the year. They had them come out in a special Christmas release, and I don't know if they do that every year or if it was just for the year that I got them. But this is my teapot cozy. And I should say, this is the second one I've made. The first one I made, gosh, that is getting so blown out. I'm sorry, guys. The first one I made, I use and I've kept, and I use it every year. This is the second one because my aunt saw it and said I would love one of them. And so I made a second one for her. So you can see sheep, Mary, Jesus, Joseph. Got the shepherds over here looking after sheep and the angel talking to them. And you have a star over the stable. And then you turn it around and you have the wise men and their camels. I know they weren't necessarily 3, but that's what were in the button packet. And so there are 3 on here. 3 camels, 3 wise men, 3 gifts. I didn't follow a pattern. I can tell you I did a 50 stitch count around the bottom. I ended up with 43 rows, and I didn't do any shaping. I just put all of the live stitches on a piece of thread and pulled and tied it off really well. And then I just sewed the top and bottom together here. Can't tell you how many stitches, but just so that a handle for a teapot can fit in there. I don't know, there's one teapot my aunt has which has a handle on the top, and it won't fit that. I don't know if she has a second one or if she'll have to buy a second one. Hopefully not. But anyway, this is done and it is for her. And I love Past Me. Like I said, I didn't have a pattern. I just made it up as I went. And the yarn, it's a polyacrylic. It's an acrylic that I got from Spotlight. So that's what the yarn label looks like. Pony 4-ply 100% acrylic, 50 grams, 4 seasons. It's a Spotlight brand. There you go. I had bought it to make, I think I bought it to make a mobile for my son when he was born, or before he was born. And I knit one, it was a balloon pattern, hot air balloon, and I knit one and went, that is disgusting. And I don't have the brain power right now because I'm pregnant to rewrite the pattern so it'll work. So I used it in other things, mainly this. And I've got 2 out of this. I have heaps of the grey left, and I have a little bit of the blue, a fair bit of the green. I could do another one with the green. I'm not sure I'd have enough blue for a second one because you can see most of it is blue. But yeah, very simple, just knit 2 rectangles, did some colour changing to try and make it look like some grass and maybe some mountains. Sorry, that's getting really blown out. There we go. Yeah, so I just made it up as I went along and then added the buttons when I finished. The buttons I will show you because I have extras. Excuse the crackling. This is what they look like. So there were 3 packets of buttons together to make up the tea cozy. This is the Mary Joseph Jesus one. I didn't use this angel or the donkey in either of mine because the donkey was so small. And then there was a shepherd one and a 3 wise men one. So I used 3 packets, and it says here that they were $5 Australian per packet. I'm pretty sure I got them on sale. Spotlight often have vouchers and money off and whatever, so I'm pretty sure I got them on sale for either 50% off or 40% off. But if they come out at Christmas, have a look. I think I must have ended up buying 5 sets because I have 3 sets left after I finished this one. But yeah, they're just really cute little buttons. And they had, you know, different cooking buttons and different things as well, which I may have got some of, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet. So that is my teapot cozy. Again, all the information that I have, I will put on a Ravelry page and I will link it down below. But honestly, I just made it up as I went. There's no pattern. I'm not planning to write a pattern. It is 2 rectangles sewn together. I feel like people can figure that out. I guess making the mountains was a little bit brain power consuming, which may be why it sat for 2.5 years. No, that's not true. I was working on it. I was on to the second half. I'd done the ribbing and a little bit of the grass on the second one. And then I packed it and shipped it to Poland. And then I got delayed with the pandemic and everything else that happened, so I didn't get to get it again until 6 months ago. But I didn't touch it for the last 6 months because in my mind it was a difficult project, and as soon as I got it out and looked at it, it was done in a day. Maybe 2 days. 2 days. Do you ever do that? You put a project in the naughty corner or you put it away and you're like, I can't deal with this right now, and then you come back to it later and go, oh, well, that's not too bad. Oh well. So those are my finished objects for today. Before I go into whips, I just want to share with you 2 knit-alongs. The first one starts on May 28th and it is Summer Sock Camp. Summer Sock Camp is run by the Crazy Sock Lady. It is, simply put, a knit-along. If you are interested in knitting socks, either you've done it before and you want to do some more, or you've never knit socks before and you want to give it a go, I highly recommend you go check out the Crazy Sock Lady. I will link her below, and she has a YouTube video talking about Summer Sock Camp, so I will link that below as well because so worth going, having your questions answered. I think I mentioned last time, I had knit 1 sock before Summer Sock Camp last year, and I had frogged it a couple of times and I'd struggled with it. And then Summer Sock Camp came around and I'd never heard of it before. It was the 2nd year that she ran it last year. And I kind of dipped my toes in and I bought a bit more sock yarn and I cast on and I bought one of her patterns and I loved it. It was fun. Anything that had problems with, there were tutorials, there were posts. You can always email her and she'll help you with whatever you need, sock related, pattern related. Basically, she wants you to succeed in sock knitting. So if you're wanting to start, I highly recommend joining in her knit along. I'm definitely doing it again. It begins May 28th and finishes at the end of August. It's on Instagram and on Ravelry, so if you don't have Ravelry, you can just use the hashtag. If you are on Ravelry, you can also post finished objects in their finished object threads and chat about it on the chatter threads. And on Ravelry, there are different cabins depending on how you've knit your socks. So you've got, you post your finished object in a different thread if you do it on Magic Loop, or if you do it 9-inch circular, or if you do it DPNs, or if you do it any other way, there's a 4th wildcard thread that you can do it in. And all hand knit socks count. She doesn't care about size, whether it's DK or 4-ply, baby, giant, ankle, shorties, knee high, they all count. But it does have to be hand knit, so crank socks and stuff don't count. She goes through all of this on her info video, so go check it out if you're interested. But that's coming up, and so I was trying to mentally go, how many projects can I finish before that starts so I can cast on a good amount of new socks in that time and not be overwhelmed by all the projects that I'm not touching while I'm knitting socks. But also, what projects do I need to get finished? Because I have things that I need to do. Yeah. So, I was already thinking these thoughts. Also, I will just say, she does have, if you're joining in Summer Sock Camp and you knit one of her patterns, you get an extra entry for that project. And her patterns are currently 50% off. So if you're interested in joining in or knitting any of her patterns, go check her out, the Crazy Sock Lady. I will link her Ravelry shop below as well. These are some of the ones that I just bought. She's been knitting a version of this on and sharing her progress on Instagram, and I love it. So I finally bought this one in her sale, 50% off, woohoo. And then this one was her Summer Sock Camp pattern from last year. I don't know if she's doing another specific pattern for Summer Sock Camp this year, but I haven't knit it yet because I knit so many socks in Summer Sock Camp. I bought the pattern at the end and then never cast it on. So I'm planning to cast this one on as well this year. And I have another one of her patterns that I will probably do as well. But if you're interested in participating, or you need a new sock pattern, or she has fingerless mitts and things that are also on sale, it's her whole shop, that's her whole pattern shop that's on sale. Go check her out. Can recommend. And if you ever have a problem with her patterns or you don't understand something, you can email her and she will email you straight back. Brilliant. But like I said, I was trying to figure out what I can finish up before camp. And apparently she had the same idea, because Kay is now hosting a Clear 'em for Camp 2022 knit along, which is let's clear the needles! Woohoo! Now if you're like my sister, she only has one thing going on at a time, and so she has no needles to clear. But if you're like me, you have needles to clear. So I had a look. Yesterday I had 7 works in progress, whips. Today I have 6. Actually, that's not true. Yesterday I had 8. Today I have 6. I finished the Tea Cozy. That's one off the needles. Woohoo. The other one that I'm not going to show you, but I frogged. The pink and white stripy socks that I showed you last week, they're gone. Like I said, I love the yarn. I was planning to, so hopefully it worked to show a little video of me frogging them at the beginning of this video. But yeah, I love the yarn. I hated what they were looking like. It just was bringing me no joy. And so I'd rather knit 2 socks that I love with those yarns. I have enough to do socks separate, rather than pushing through and getting stripy socks that have a lot of negative memories attached to them. So yeah, they're gone. So I've got 6 whips to go. And basically this knit along, it's very informal. There will be a winner at the end. She will draw. It's only on Instagram using the hashtag, which I will put below, and I'll put here as well. But basically it's just finishing projects that you currently have, so that you have less projects weighing on you when you get to Summer Sock Camp and you can cast on all the socks. Sock crazy! So this knit along finishes on May 26th and Sock Camp starts May 28th. I believe she's drawing the winner on May 27th. So in terms of whips, like I said, I've got 6 left. I'm not going to show you my cowl because I haven't touched it since last time. I want the finished object. I'm not enjoying the knitting, and there have been other things that I have been prioritising. So that's fine. And I'm not going to show you my granny square blanket, which I haven't shown here yet. That is upstairs in a cupboard. I've pulled it out once since I've moved to Poland, and I will finish it, but I need to make some design decisions. So with those out of the way, this is a long episode, guys. If you are still here, good on you. Thank you. I'll go through these relatively quickly, I hope. The first one is my cable sweater. This is for the Crazy Cabled Sweater Knit Along, which finishes on June 1st. I don't think this is going to be finished by June 1st. My other ball of yarn that I will probably almost definitely need to finish it is still in Australia. And it is April 30. So I don't see it arriving in the next month, let alone having enough time to finish the sweater after it arrives. But I'm still working on it. I'm still hoping that I can have the sweater as finished as I can, i.e. having used the yarn that I have in this bag, so that when it comes to the yarn arriving in Poland, I can whip it out and finish it up quickly. So this is the back. It is a seamed sweater, so you knit it all separate, seam it together, and then put all the stitches from the collar on together and knit the collar as one. I think it's designed that you knit the collar flat as one. I'll probably join it completely and knit the collar in the round as one. I've done that before because it just means less purling, which means it goes quicker. What's not to love? So that is the back. Last time I showed the sweater, I had done one sleeve, which was this one, and it had stitch markers all the way down, telling me where I'd increased and everything like that. The fact that they're gone means that I finished the second sleeve. Woohoo! Now this one has a progress marker on it. Down here, oh gosh. That little cat, it is from Obsession Yarns. But that, from the cat to the top, is how much I have completed since the last podcast 10 days ago. This sweater got some love. And then I stopped in the middle of the row. Sorry, kids, what can I say? This is what I've done on the front as well since the last podcast. So, got the ribbing done. It is a twisted rib, which takes a little bit longer, I find, but I do like the effect of it. It's a bit more pronounced ribbing on the front. And I'm just going to right now move the progress keeper over so that we can see next time where I was up to when I showed it here. We'll see how much progress gets done. So you can now see that little cat on here. I'm not a cat person, but this cat came with a teacup stitch marker as well. And I wanted the teacup, so I bought the cats. Yeah, so this is the Honeycomb Aran sweater. It is a free pattern by Patterns. I am doing it for the Crazy Cabled Sweater Knit Along. I had been wanting to do a cabled sweater for years, and when the Knit Along came along, I decided, let's jump in. I had the yarn already. Clearly not quite enough. The yarn that I'm using is a Bendigo Woolen Mills Luxury 10-ply in the colour cream. I've used Bendigo Luxury many times. Gosh, that is getting so blown out. I've used Luxury 10-ply many times, and Luxury many times in 4-ply and 8-ply, not in 10-ply. But I love it. It wears well, it is soft, I find it nicer to knit with than their Classic. Their Classic has a wider colour range, but I find it a bit rougher on the hands when I'm knitting. Where Luxury, I don't have that problem. Yeah, so I really love it. I'm, again, not using a cable needle. I'll just hold this up again so you can understand the gravity of that statement. Look at all those cables. Most of them are cables for 4. There is a twist for 2 that you wouldn't use a needle anyway. Most of the cables are 4 stitches wide. One, every now and then there is one that's 5 stitches wide. And no cable needle. I find it so much more relaxing to not use a cable needle. Again, I will have the tutorial linked below if you want to give that a go. But yeah, I just, having 2 needles and yarn, no problem. Adding in a third thing that I'm trying to fiddle with and move around and everything, I just find it annoying. I'd much rather insert in the back, pull off, flip around, put it back on, knit. And it's so, once you've been doing it and you know the pattern, it's second nature. It takes me barely any time at all to do a row out, and I don't have to think about it. So yeah, I would recommend trying that. And I will link Bendigo Woolen Mills below as well, because that is a great source of yarn. They ship internationally. I don't know what shipping prices are like, but they ship internationally. But definitely if you're in Australia, it's worth it for the amount that it costs, the amount that you get, the affordability, and the wear. It's brilliant. Okay. The next one that I have are my turtle reef socks. I'm so happy with this. So this is in another little bag that I made with some Heather Ross fabric and some Anna Maria Horner fabric. And I'll show you the yarn label first. This is Maximu Yarns Sea Turtle Reef. It is on the Ultra Soft Sock, which is a 80% superwash merino, 10% nylon, 10% cashmere. I love, love, love this yarn. This is what the yarn looks like. Look at those colours. You can tell I really like this kind of greeny bluey colour. These ones, I don't even know when I started them. It was a long time ago. Maybe 6 months. And I don't usually spend that long on socks anymore. But I'm learning, or I'm teaching myself to do continental stitch on these socks. So I have done the heel flap and gusset. Last time I recorded, I was in the middle of the heel flap, the heel flap. I've done the heel turn. I'm in the middle of the gusset now. I think I've got another 4 rows or something until the gusset is finished. Look at those colours. Love the colours. The reason I'm doing this continental, I bought some 9-inch circulars because I wanted to try them. And I found them very difficult to knit with my English style knitting because of the way that I hold my needles. But I wanted to try 9-inch circulars anyway. And when I'm doing stranded colour work, I usually do 1 strand knitting English style and 1 strand continental. And so I figured, why not? I can kind of continental knit. I will try, see how it goes. And when I'm straight knitting, I find it quite relaxing. When I'm purling, I find it quite annoying. So I think someone mentioned a Norwegian style purl where you don't have to move your finger as much. So I might look into that. But for the rest of this, it's knitting. So the rest of this sock will go quite quickly. I've loved doing it on 9-inch circulars. I think I'm going to try, Addie has a sock circular needle where these ones 9-inch circulars, the 2 needles are the same size, and you can see tiny, tiny needle, tiny, tiny needle. Addie's sock circulars has 1 small needle and 1 that's a little bit longer, so you can still get the full circle of the sock, but you have a bigger one to hold if you rather have a bigger needle. So you can still have a small one that you're knitting off, but a bigger one that you're knitting with. So I've got one of them on the way, and I will give that a go next, I believe, rather than casting another 9-inch circular when this pair is finished. But I wouldn't say this pair will be finished soon. Every now and then, I'm trying to do a little bit every day, and I am seeing progress, but it is still slow because it's not my normal type of knitting, and I'm not doing it every day, most days. They are 2.25mm Chiaogu. I think I have 2.5 circulars as well, but I'm not sure. But the fabric, it's quite a tight weave, I think, because I'm not comfortable with circular or with continental, so I'm doing it quite tight. It'll be interesting how gauge changes moving forward, but they'll fit me and it'll be fine. So that's that sock. It's making progress slowly but surely. We're getting there. And like I said, I love the yarn. I would definitely work with this yarn again, without a doubt. I have, which is probably good, I have 2 more skeins of yarn from Maximu yarns that I will do at some point. Alright, 2 more to go. This one is another sock. I'm not going to say who it's for because it is a gift knit. But check out the colour. It is a gradient, and I just did the heel in the same colour, which is why we have this straight line across here, because that is the colour that the heel and finish with. If I do that, you can see it all gradients down here nicely, and then when it joins back up across the top. This is the reason a lot of people don't do the heel flap and turn, or the heel in general, in the middle of a self-striping yarn or a gradient yarn, because you get this sharp colour. And I might change it next time. I might do a contrasting one. I might do an afterthought heel or something like that. But because they're gifts, I know that this style of sock works really well, and that gifts for someone with a bit of a strange shaped foot. So I know this style works well, and it's not going to bother him that there's a sharp colour change across the heel, across the instep. He won't care. Instep. Should know my feet better. Anyway, a sharp colour change won't bother them. I can guarantee that. I love the way that the gradient is working out. It's so pretty. The yarn, I'm doing these on Yarn First. So the yarn is this one. It is Zauberball Crazy. I may be mispronouncing that. 75% superwash merino, superwash, 25% nylon. And this is colorway, it's called Crazy Tropical Fish, and it is colorway 1564. Now I'm doing this on 2.25mm Chiaogu. I started them on the 2.5mm, I showed them last time, and I ripped it out and restarted it on the 2.25. And I'm much, much, much happier with the fabric. It is still, like, you can pull it out, you can still see that it's, maybe you can't, you can still see it's a bit of a looser weave, but I'm much happier with it. And I think if I went down to the 2mm, it would end up being a bit too small. But the sizing is better. I'm quite happy with it, which I'm glad, because I have a lot more of this Zauberball Crazy yarn, and I'd be very sad if I wasn't happy knitting socks with it, because I'd have to figure out something else. Okay, so battery was very close to dying, so I had to stop and charge it for a little bit. While I did, I got a new drink. This is now in a Polish pottery mug. This is the style of ceramics that is Polish. It's called Bolesławiec because it is mostly made in Bolesławia, which is a town here in Poland. And in this I now have instant drink fine white chocolate flavour. This I got from Lidl, which is kind of like an Aldi shop here in Poland. Not Aldi, Aldi is different, but similar to Aldi in its design. I don't know if you can get it anywhere else. That's Lidl's logo. But either way, I saw it when I want to try a white hot chocolate drink, and it's quite good. Beautiful. Okay, so we are almost done. I am going to keep going. I know this is a long episode, but I am going to keep going because we're almost done. And honestly, I just love knitting things and yarn things. And most of the time if I'm watching a podcast and they're talking about yarn and projects that they're making, I don't care if it goes for an hour or longer. So this final project is in another bag that I made. This fabric is oh so cute. It was a Christmas present. All right, so this is both the last whip and the first new thing acquisition section because I bought yarn. I mentioned in the last podcast that I'm trying not to buy much yarn unless it's for a specific project, because I just stocked up on sock yarns, which is I was going to need soon, and a few other things. And so I was like, I'm just not going to buy yarn. I have plenty in my stash. I want to use my stash. But I don't have plenty in my stash for DK or worsted weight knit sweater quantities. I have lots of 4-ply sweater quantities, and I have patterns for most of them in mind, but I don't have DK weight sweater quantities. And so I have the opportunity to do a test knit for a Polish designer here. Her Insta name is Comfort Zone Knits. I will put it here and also link her down below. She put out a call for test knitters. I said absolutely, because it was an English pattern and she wanted some people who understood English to do some double checking on the language as well. But I also wanted to get to know Polish designers and Polish knitters, so great opportunity to do that. So I am now test knitting, but I didn't have enough yarn to do the test knit. So I had an option. I could either buy, I have more single ply merino singles from Vera Yarn, which is enough for a sweater quantity, but it's a 4-ply. So I could either get some merino to hold double with that, or get some entirely new yarn. And when I was buying DK yarn to make into scraps for the sea glass sweater, which my sister and I will be casting on August 1st, if you want to join us. My sister is Mel Knits and Sews, or Melinda Knits and Sews. We have a lot in common. But her and I are going to cast on August 1st. So if you want to join us in that, let me know so that we can figure out a hashtag and make things happen for that. But when I was getting yarn for that to send her some scraps, because we're doing a scrap swap to make this sweater happen, I came across this yarn. And, excuse the rustling, it's a yarn art called Milano. Now this is an 8% alpaca, 20% wool, 8% viscose, 64% acrylic. It is so soft, so soft. And as I bought one ball to split for my sister and I for the sea glass of this colour, and one ball of a few other colours. And as I was splitting this colour, I thought that would make a beautiful sweater. And at the time I was thinking a cable knit sweater, but because I've got that other cable knit that I'm doing, I didn't want to jump into a second cable knit straight away, because often I get fatigue if I try and do too many of the same things one after the other. But when I needed a test knit, and the test knit turnaround is 6 weeks, which is doable, absolutely. For the amount that I knit, it is doable to do a sweater in 6 weeks when it's DK weight, not a problem. I did a test swatch, which I never do, but it's a test knit, so it's important to know that I'm actually hitting gauge so I can give feedback on this pattern. So I did a gauge swatch, and it was good I did, because I had to go down a needle size. The pattern calls for 4.5mm needles, and I am doing them on 4mm needles, so I'm glad I gauge swatched. And the other benefit to gauge swatching was it gives me a better idea of what the yarn is going to look like in the end, and that is beautiful. Like, I'm going to be quite happy to wear a sweater out of that. I can't wait. So I'm not going to show the pattern. I'm not going to show the colour. Sorry, this is the colour. I'm not going to show anything from the pattern. I'm not going to show the finished picture on the pattern because that is out, but it's a test. It's not released yet. You can't actually buy the pattern. What I will show you is a little sneak peek of my actual knitting. So I'm knitting these on 4mm. I think I'm doing them on 80. And you can just see a little bit here. That's all I've done. Just a little bit. I'm deliberately obscuring the pattern a little bit because it is a test knit. It's not finalised or anything like that. But I am enjoying the process. It's a fun knit. It's an easy knit. There are a few bits that I've had to stop and go, oh, okay. But it's got written instructions. It's charted. Each round has enough repeats that by the end of the round you know what you're doing. You don't have to stop and look every whatever. And sometimes after 2 pattern repeats you don't have to think. There are some new to me construction techniques, so I'm excited to finish the pattern, finish the sweater, and learn some new techniques. I've already learnt some new techniques while doing this test knit, so that's exciting. But I just thought I'd pique your interest here. It is by Comfort Zone Knits, and I've looked at some of her other stuff, and guys, it is beautiful. Her patterns are in English, and I mean, I believe that she'd published them in Polish as well, since she's a Polish designer, but I haven't actually checked what languages she publishes her patterns in. I just know that they're in English. But yeah, if you're looking, there's another cardigan of hers that I have my eye on already. I'm gonna have to look through her patterns because, like I said, I'm learning new techniques and it's enjoyable to sit down and kind of expand skills. I love that part of knitting, that you can have one thing that's totally easy and comfortable and whatever, and then you get to a new thing and you go, I just have to learn this tiny thing and then this entire project is open to me. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for my projects. Gauge swatch, woohoo! It goes that way. Alright, so the last things that I have picked up. So I bought that yarn. I have bought other yarn again, but I don't have it because I only bought it last night. So when that comes in, I will show you in the next episode. I'm really excited for that yarn that I bought last night though. But the other things that I did buy, when I picked up that yarn for the test knit, I also picked up some macrame yarn. And the reason I picked this up is to make baskets. So I crochet as well as knit, and I have wanted to make some crochet baskets for a long time. And the other day I was at a friend's house here in Poland who taught me how to do stained glass. So I did some stained glass, a little circle for the wall. I'll insert a picture here actually. This is the picture. This is the stained glass that I made. I love it. Anyway, I was at her house and she had some crocheted baskets. And it was just out of a black, it wasn't macrame, but it was a black, maybe a ribbon yarn. And I loved it. It was very simple. And then at the top of each one, she had done in a, what I would imagine is like a 5-weight or maybe an 8-weight, whatever it was, a very thin crochet thread had crocheted around the top. And it was just a tiny pop of something different, something contrasting. Hers were black with a white crochet around the top. And I thought that's so pretty. And so when I was at the Pasmentaria getting the yarn for the test knit and I saw this, I thought absolutely. And so I got 2 of the grey. I'm going to put one down because I can't hold this many. And then I got a pink. Yeah. A pink and a mint. And so I got 1 each of the pink and mint and 2 of the grey. And my plan, you can see it's a 2mm macrame yarn of the 2 colours, and then the grey is a 5mm. So you can see the weight difference there. And so my plan is to do the baskets in the grey and then use this as a pop of colour around the top. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. There's a lot more of the light colours than the grey. They're all 250 grams, but the colours are 230 to 250 metres and the grey is 60 metres. So big difference there. So I can go back and get more grey if I want to, or I'll use the colours for something different. But I just thought that was really cute as an idea. And since it was fresh in my mind from seeing my friends' ones, I went for it. The other thing that I bought when I went to my local yarn store, or my husband's area, I noticed that they had pom-poms. Now for pom-poms, if you're getting a beanie kit or if you're just buying them from a yarn store, you can pay $7, $8 for one pom-pom to finish off a beanie. They had them for $7 Zloty, which is $2.5 Australian dollars. So I went a little pom-pom crazy. I said, wszystko, all. And I didn't buy every pom-pom they had, but I did buy every colour that they had. And I am looking forward to adding them to beanies. Now, I'm not actually sure that I like a beanie with a pom-pom for myself, but I have 2 kids. I can make a cute pom-pom for my daughter, cute beanie for my pom-pom. A cute beanie with a pom-pom for my daughter. And one for my son. And spoilers, Mel, I bought some extra that I'll send back to you. Because who doesn't want beanies with pom-poms? Anyway, they kind of look like rabbit tails. Anyway, so I bought them and I'm very excited. I don't know when I'm going to make another beanie, if we're coming out of cold weather, but I really am hoping, so forecasting, it is April, almost the beginning of May, and we are coming into spring. We're in spring, we're coming into summer, warm weather in Poland. But I'm finishing Christmas knits now. I'm almost done. One package is sent, one package is almost ready to send, and the third one I have to send by, I think, the beginning of June. And all my Christmas knitting for people in Australia has to be done by then. So I'm getting a huge head start. And normally Christmas knitting, I freak out last minute, I'm stressing, I'm staying up late. My husband is like, Kirsty, is this even necessary? But this year I'm not, because I have to think so far ahead and I have to knit so far ahead that I don't have the pressure of Christmas is a few days away. And somehow it's working better. Like, I still have deadlines, but I'm working to those deadlines better because I don't have the stress of everything else that comes with Christmas at the same time. So that's really nice. So Christmas knitting, gift knitting is almost done. There will be some stuff I want to do for myself and my family, like Christmas socks. Maybe I'll get them done in summer sock camp. But for the most part, Christmas knitting is almost finished. Wow. Never have I done that by May before. Never. Then you will see some more Christmas knits coming over the next month, but most of them are done. Then there is winter knits. Now this year we've had a year of winter. We had 6 months of winter, or 3 months of winter in Australia, and then we moved the very beginning of spring or middle of spring to Poland and came into another 6 months of cold. So spring is very welcome. But it means that I didn't get to knit things. We just had to go out and buy them because I didn't have what I needed to knit what I wanted to knit. I didn't know what I wanted to knit. I was overwhelmed, culture shock, etc., etc. But I have kids, I have a husband, I have myself, and we live in a country where knits are necessary. Mittens, beanies, jumpers, scarves, these are things that we use every time we go out of the house in winter in Poland. In Australia, sometimes it seemed like a luxury, an extra that you didn't actually need or a stylish thing. Here, if your child does not have a beanie when you go outside, you're a bad mother. And people will tell you, they'll stop you on the street and pat their heads and try and cover them with whatever they have nearby because your kids' heads need to be covered. I have learnt that. So I'm looking forward to being able to do this knitting. But I know that if I start when it gets cold, it's not going to happen, and I'll just have to go buy things that fit the kids rather than making them. So I also want to build that into my summer knit. Knitting the beanies and the scarves and trying to figure out what size they will be so that it will fit them. And jumpers and stuff. And I mean, even now they're wearing jumpers more than they were before because, like I said before, the change in temperature. So that's my plan. I want to do summer sock camp. I want to get winter knits done over summer. And things like this test knit, other ones. I have quite a few things that are in works actually in terms of knitting. So pom-poms, I will use them. I just don't know when. Alright, the other thing that I bought that has arrived is I bought more stitch markers. Now, I bought 3 of each colour because I knew that I would use them. They came in packs of 50. These are from Hobby. Hobby, I know, has an American site. I don't know how many countries they're in, but definitely they're in Poland. And my friend here in Poland was buying yarn to knit a blanket. Yes, I have infected. That's the word I was looking for. Infected at least one person with a desire to knit here. So she was getting yarn for that, and I put a few notions in the bag for me at the same time. The thing I will say about Hobby, I've ordered from them quite a few times here because they have a range. Twice they have sent something that was different to what we ordered, or what I ordered. Not everything, most things have been right, but in 2 orders there has been one item that is different to what I ordered. One of them, I ordered a medium and they sent a large. Totally understandable. They sent a replacement. They gave me a coupon for free shipping for my next order, and they told me to keep the thing that they sent me that was the wrong size. This time we ordered a whole bunch of yarn. It was all the same range but different colours. And instead of 3 balls of one colour, they sent us 3 balls of a completely different yarn that had nothing, like it was so random. And we were like, I don't know what they were thinking. But I contacted them again, and straight away they got back to me saying, keep the ones that we sent you that were wrong, here's a coupon for free shipping, and we will send out the correct skeins straight away. So they will arrive soon. The reason I mention this is, like, I will keep buying from Hobby. Their customer service is amazing, and when they do make a mistake, they more than make up for it. Absolutely. And you know, they're only human on the other side of the computer, so that's fine. But it is important to note that if you're ordering on a deadline, beware. And that's one of the reasons that for the test knit, I didn't order yarn through them for that, because I knew I had a deadline, and I knew that it usually took 7 to 10 days for the yarn to arrive anyway. And I knew if there was a mistake in the order, then you'd be looking at a 3-week turnaround, and I can't do a sweater test knit in 3 weeks. I mean, I possibly could, but I don't know that I could, and I'd committed to it, so I wanted to get yarn from a place that I knew would get here correctly and quickly. Alright, the other thing I got from Hobby, which is just a bit fun, is some more stitch markers. So I got these to act as progress keepers, and now that I've shown you, I can put them in the bags. Alright, I think that is everything. All the things that I'm working on, all the things I've done. This has been a really long episode, so if you've stuck through to the end, thank you. If you've been knitting on something while you've been talking, comment down below. I would love to hear what you're knitting, and if you have a podcast or anything like that, Instagram handle, let me know so I can come check out what you're doing, because like I said, I want the community. I want to see what people are doing and yeah, be part of it. If you liked what you heard, subscribe so you can find out when the next episode is. I will keep knitting, and I can't wait to share what I get finished with you in the next week or two. Bye.